Hello, students of American Literature. Professor Berninger here, talking about my travels. And today we're going coast to coast with Eugene O'Neill. So in 2005, I think, 2006, I was very fortunate that Columbia Green granted me a sabbatical, which means that for a semester, I don't need to come to work. I just need to go out into the world or do a research project or both that enhances my teaching and my intelligence. And what I did is I traveled all over the United States of America visiting historic homes of American authors. So that is a house museum or a regular museum, mostly house museums, where authors lived. And I think I visited 46 authors' homes in 26 states, or at least that's what I've done up to now in my life. So it was a lot of fun. It was very, very fun and interesting, and it was good for me to get out of town because, I went to college locally and never really traveled a whole lot, but I've traveled a lot since. So here's the map of the United States. Just a quick peek here. I did travel to the Midwest to visit Mark Twain sites and Carl Sandburg sites. Of course, a lot of sites are here in the Northeast, which is nice and easy for me. Today we're going to be traveling to the Connecticut, to the cottage where the events of this story, this play, Long Day's Journey into Night, took place. And we're going to go out here to Danville in California, where Eugene O'Neill wrote the play. So coast to coast with Eugene O'Neill. And I really find this fascinating because this play, if you didn't know, is very autobiographical. Eugene O'Neill had a younger brother who died before him, a baby. Eugene O'Neill had an older brother, just like Jamie, his father, his mother. The events, this story is, maybe a lot of events pushed into one day, because it is one long day, but every fact in this story is true. It is autobiographical. And it's almost like the events that took place here in Eugene O'Neill's, not childhood, but being a young man. He had to get as far away as you could, but still be in the country, as far away as you could to actually write about it, to gain some objectivity back on these events that took place here. So this is my favorite pairing of historic sites, of all the historic sites that I have ever been to, which is a lot. Here's the house in New London, Connecticut, and this is where the events of the play take place. And when I visited here, I spent the whole afternoon. It was fantastic, and it was just like being in the play. I fully expected one of the guys to start drinking and to catch the mom shooting up morphine and there to be an argument. But here's the hedge that gets mentioned in the play. And the one room that the play takes place in is on the side of the house here. But this is the house. This is the house. And we're going to get into that room. There it is. And it was called Monte Cristo Cottage because, yes, Eugene O'Neill's dad did buy that play and made lots and lots and lots of money, just like James Tyrone in the play. Doing that play over and over and over and over all across America. And here we are. I walked in the house. It was one of the best visits I ever made. I walked in the house and I was early, which I always am. And the curator yelled from the back, "You're early. Go on in. I'll be out in a while." So, I had the place to myself. You never let somebody, especially a nut like me, into a place all by himself. But I didn't steal anything that day. So this is the room back here, where we're headed. First, I had to walk through this room. And as I was approaching, I'm getting close. I mean, I've been studying this play for a long time. I read it as a student at Columbia Green. I'm getting closer and closer to this magical room here where this maybe the greatest American play ever written is set. And I walk in and dun dun dun, there is a very scary mannequin of Eugene O'Neill's mother, Mary Tyrone, in the play, and the hair stood up on the back of my neck. Because remember, I was all alone. But this is the room. This is the space. This is the place. All of the great actors in American acting who have been in this play, make a visit to this room because they want to feel it. They want to be in the room before they perform the play on stage. Remember, Eugene O'Neill, almost everyone agrees, is America's greatest playwright by a lot. And this is his greatest play. And that's really saying something. So a visit to this room is almost a religious experience for people who study the play, and certainly the actors and actresses who have performed it over the years. And there's a picture on the wall of James O'Neill as the Count of Monte Cristo and his wife, Ella, again, Tyrone and Mary in the play. And there's a piano. The piano is going to come up a little bit later, so I just include a picture of the piano here. That's just a cool picture of the toilet and the tub that, I thought was cool that I took. And there's the sink. So this is looking out Eugene O'Neill's bedroom window, and the day I was there, it was like I couldn't have made up more interesting weather because fog is a very important symbol and recurring motif in the play, and the fog rolled in that afternoon, just like it does in the play. And at the end, O'Neill, or Edmund in the play, by the way, call Sigmund Freud, right? Eugene O'Neill in real life was named Eugene, and the baby who died before him was named Edmund. In the play, he switches the two. And of course, the death of that baby is what haunts this family, among other things, but haunts this family. The death of the baby has a huge impact on the next baby, Eugene, in real life, and Edmund in the play. So there's the view outside Eugene O'Neill's room. There's a desk that was never in the house, but Eugene O'Neill lived out at the end of Cape Cod. There was a theater out there that he wrote for, and the Coast Guard out there built that desk for him. And even though you're not ever supposed to touch anything when you're in a historic home, the tour guide invited me to sit down at Eugene O'Neill's desk. And right here, if there was a thought bubble over my head, it would be like, I should not be doing this right now, but it is really awesome. It is really awesome. So anyway, there's young professors, Professor Berninger at age 35, 36, so quite a while ago. And I look about the same, a little less hair, a couple pounds, but about the same. And there I am like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm touching Eugene O'Neill's desk. I can't believe it. This is awesome. I'm never going to be the same again. Can't you just see that on my face there? I do look awfully young. I was. And with here's a bed set up in Eugene O'Neill's room at the house. This is when he was a young man. And with some sense of irony, the people who operate it now put this over the bed. There's no place like home. And of course, as you read in the play, it was not exactly a loving, supportive household as we might all like it to be. Though they do all care for each other, and they're certainly bonded to each other. There's one of my tour guides. So I had actually two really good tour guides that day. The first I did not get a picture of. She gossiped. She talked about the O'Neills like she was a gossipy neighbor, which I thought was kind of cool. And then I went upstairs, and this tour guide, she whispered the whole time. Like the O'Neills could walk in any minute. That was really cool. She was like, oh yeah. And we were like looking around like they were going to appear. So I don't know if she was doing that on purpose, but like the two tour guides and the curator, they had cookies for me. They had hot chocolate. They treated me like a king when I was visiting there. Never forget it. This is the light that Eugene O'Neill's dad would notoriously, or not notoriously, but always want to keep turned off. And of course, if any of you are dads or have a dad, you know what most of the dads do at home is try to keep the electric bill low, and we're always turning lights off. It's kind of funny. The railing here is, very symbolic because you notice it is like a store-bought railing. These pieces do not go all the way into the tread, right? The balustrade, I think that's what this is called. These pieces do not go into the stair. That cost more. And in real life, Eugene O'Neill's dad was cheap. So this is interesting because he was cheap on this. He did not put in an expensive staircase. And the tour guides were good enough to use that to illustrate the family's life. And there's Mary, or I should say, I forgot her name already, and I just said it a minute ago. Eugene O'Neill's Ella, Eugene O'Neill's real mom. And there's me standing in the room, right? And it was intense. It was, I was just here 15 years later thinking about it. It was intense to be in that room, knowing the play so well. So if you're ever in New London, Connecticut, it's a lovely little place to visit. Stop by. And there's the harbor that the house looks out on. It's a nice spot. Here's Eugene O'Neill's dad and his older brother, Jamie, sitting on the front porch. And the dad's looking big and tough like he was. And there's Jamie looking kind of imperious. That's a good word. Look it up if you don't know it. And here's, of course, Eugene reading a book. So that's kind of a nice picture with all three of the O'Neill men in it. And there is the dad dressed as the Count of Monte Cristo, which he performed tens of thousands of times and made beaucoup bucks traveling around the country and performing. There it is. When I was out in Illinois at Carl Sandburg's house, Carl Sandburg saw Eugene O'Neill I saw part of their display, saw James O'Neill as the Count of Monte Cristo. And you know what? I'm going to have to slice this into two parts. So I'm going to let this go. That's enough of New London, and then we're going to go out to California. So we'll wrap this part up right now.